Wasting money on cures. Forgot how to fix myself. They say that time is free. Then why is it so precious? Oh, I'll say memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. Time is running out. Time is running out. Lately I've lost my track. I've sailed the deepest seas, hoping to find something to bring back better times. Oh, I'll say memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. But time is running out. 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 Time is running. Time is running out. Time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can be over. They can't be over now. Time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can't be over now. Time is running out. Time is running out. Time is running out.
Evening, everyone, and we're back. Thanks very much for your patience over the weekend. I managed to get through man flu, which I know you'll be thinking is absolutely amazing and how brave I was. But we're back. I've got my Benylin cough syrup and various other packets of paracetamol to help me get through this next 35 to 40 minutes where we're going to do our third session on getting ready for Unit 2. Let's have a look and see what we're going to do today. As we get going, of course, a big thanks to Karen and the team, particularly Karen, who is doing a sterling job answering loads of questions in the live chat. Much appreciated, Karen, and she knows what she's talking about, so read them carefully, everybody. So we're going to take a look in this session at AF2 and AF4, which are worth collectively 28 marks out of 70. In the first two sessions, we've dived into the research pack, and we've also looked at in the second session at the justification AF4, which is worth 12 marks, isn't it? Sorry, 10 marks. The research pack's worth 12 marks. So let's get on to this session. I'll keep an eye on the live chat, and don't forget also, once this session is finished, it'll be available on catch up. And there's been lots of questions asked in previous sessions, so I'll try my best to answer those questions in the comments section on the replay video if you want to use that as a way of getting further support. Quick reminder then of what AF2 and AF5 are all about. AF2 is in Activity 1. You produce 2 reports. AF2 is all about your stated objectives to hopefully achieve the stated aim of the business. We'll go through what's required for that, and in particular with AF2, how you should use those throughout Activity 2. It's the glue that holds Activity 2 together. And then Activity 2, 20 out of the marks, 20 out of 36 is for the marketing mix. So well worth having a look at this in detail. it is by distance the most important part of your Unit 2. Therefore, you need to make sure you allow at least 50 to 55 minutes on activity on AF5 in Activity 2. It's by distance the most important thing that you will be typing or writing in your exam. So let's get into just looking at how students have been doing. In terms of AF2, roughly half marks. 4.3 was the average out of 8 in the last exam in the summer. And over time, that's been improving. So students have been getting better at setting objectives and then using those objectives throughout their marketing mix. And well, AF5, the performance isn't quite as good, but it is getting better. Almost 10 out of 20 was the average in summer 24. And as you can see, that trend is improving, up from 7.4 to 9.9. But there's still, on average, 10 marks going that students are losing. And we'll explain a bit about why that is. So we're going to make a start with our case study. There is a link pinned to the live chat if you've not yet downloaded our case study on Slide and Seek, isn't it? Keep getting it the wrong way around. Slide and Seek. I should know because I came up with the case study. We're going to be using that to help illustrate how to use aims and objectives, and then also how to use the marketing mix. Obviously, lots of questions will be coming in the live chat about the A4, 2 pages of notes and all that kind of stuff. So Karen will do her best to answer those, and I'll try and pick up on some of those as we go. So let's start with aims and objectives. Well, what are objectives? The most important thing here for you to remember is that we need to be as specific as possible. The Unit 2 examiner or examining team have said that too many students just produce very bland, generic objectives, which could be about any business, and haven't really applied their objectives to the stated aim of the business and to the business and its context. So one way of thinking about how to write an objective, and we'll come on to how many you need, is to think, well, what do you want this business to achieve? Something very specific to the business. And it needs to be relevant and it needs to be realistic. And also, when should it be achieved? Now, you might be sat there thinking, Jim, isn't that a smart objective? And the answer is yes, it is. However, a lot of students spend too much time writing what smart objectives are. No marks for that whatsoever. In fact, there's nothing on the mark scheme that says objectives should be smart. However, that is a good way of thinking about good quality objectives for your marketing mix and your marketing plan. I'll give you an example of that in a second. And then what you then do, having decided what you want to achieve and when, is explain why. Just a sentence or two, why you've chosen that objective. In other words, provide a rationale for your objective. So why? Well, that must be because you think the objective is going to help support the business aim. So link it to the aim. And then maybe just a sentence to link the objective to your marketing mix. Just a sentence to say, here's how we're going to try and do it. And that way, that objective is complete, isn't it? It's hopefully relevant, it's specific to the business, it's realistic, and then it's justified and it's linked. And this is the key with objectives, is to link them the whole way through. So here's a quick reminder. If you've downloaded or looked at our session where we were looking at the case study, I think it was our last session, I've identified 3 objectives for the business. And I think 3 is the one to go for, is the number to go for. I think 2 is okay, but I think 3 is better. And don't waste your time coming up with 4. Now, you will only have one aim. So I know a couple of people in the live chat said that they come up with lots of different aims. You will be given the aim of the business owners. And in this case, we were told in part B that Sana and Zach want to achieve a significant increase in revenue in the next 12 months. So that is the aim. So we should only be having objectives that are relevant to that aim. So here's my first one. And because I've chosen one of the 2 options, which was to launch a loyalty scheme for regular customers, I've set myself a specific, relevant, hopefully realistic objective to achieve 1,000 loyalty scheme members within 12 months. Obviously not straight away, that would be great, but over 12 months, try to get 1,000, maybe families, 1,000 adults onto the loyalty scheme. And I'll go back to how I might explain that in a second. My second objective is to try to increase the number of monthly visits. We're told in part B that currently the business average is around about 700 visits a month, so 8,500 per year. That we're told that they could handle 2,500 visits a month quite easily, big site. So that feels to me like an objective which is relevant to increasing revenue, getting more people through the door. And lastly, to increase revenue, you can either get more people through the door or you can get them to spend more. So I've added in a specific objective to try to get the average customer spend per visit from its current level of £7.29, which seems quite low to me, to quite a stretch target of £10. So thinking about what could we do to get that to £10. So there we go. That's my 3 objectives. What I need to do in AF2 is really two things. One is to explain those, set them up, and then most importantly, to use those objectives later on in my marketing mix. So should we have a look? Let's have a look at how we might do that. So let's just take that first objective. We want to achieve 1,000 loyalty scheme members. That's what we want to achieve. Well, when do we need to achieve it? Well, I've said within 12 months. So that's realistic, isn't it? It's not going to happen straight away. So we aim to build the number of loyalty scheme members steadily during the year. Why? Well, because we know that the aim is to increase revenues. Also, this is where you can just nicely link in the research. So I know that the primary research suggests that lots of people have expressed interest, about 63% actually, in visiting the business. And also a similar percentage of people say that they would look for a regular location for family outings and children's parties. And that to me suggests that actually a loyalty scheme could work quite well. So that's why it helps build sales. And I've linked it to some revenue. And well, how are we going to do it? Just a sentence. Just to say, at this stage, don't write your marketing mix out. Just say, well, the scheme's going to be launched. We might start with existing customers, maybe people who've been recently. And then we will make sure that there's a promotional campaign that promotes the loyalty scheme to everybody who attends Slide and Seek. Well, I'll show you some examples tomorrow. But yeah, flyers, little pop-ups, all that kind of stuff, and an app as well. So there we go. And this is how it might look in your report. So there's we've got one aim, and what we then need to do is explain our objectives and explain how and why they are relevant to achieving the aim. And you'll only get one aim, in this case, increasing sales. That's how it might look. Here's how the second objective might look. So we won't go through this in detail, but basically what I'm saying here is that the business has got lots of spare capacity. They reckon they could handle many, many more visitors per month. And therefore, we'll have a marketing mix that tries to find new ways of getting people to come and visit the centre, perhaps using pricing, discounted rates, a whole bunch of other things in the marketing mix. And lastly, objective 3, and trying to get them to spend more, which is always a great thing to do in a business if you can. Not always easy. What I've just done in this final sentence, if you just have a look on the screen now, hopefully it's visible, is I've just put an example of how you can tie these objectives together. So we know the aim is to increase sales revenue, and we've come up with 3, hopefully useful, relevant objectives. But sometimes it's just worth thinking, well, if we achieve these, what might the effect be? So what I've done here is said, well, for example, if we achieve objective 2 and objective 3, in other words, we do get 1,500 people per month into the centre and they spend on average £10 each, that's going to be £180,000 worth of revenue, yeah, each year, which is 3 times the current level of £60,000. So it's just proving in a way that the objectives, if they get met, can help the business achieve its aim. And I quite like that way of just tying the objectives together. So a number of people are asking in the live chat, well, where do we write about aims and objectives? And the answer is it doesn't matter as long as you write about them in detail in activity 1, which is where the AF is homed or housed in the mark scheme. So I quite like this approach. I know a number of centres who get good marks in Unit 2 suggest this kind of approach. One is to start with a very brief introduction. I've got an example for you. Then I would move on to AF3, analyse the key themes, the key findings, the reliability and the validity of the research. There's our 12 marks for that. Then I would go on to justification, AF4. There's our SWOT analysis, our product life cycle, or maybe, if you decide you want to, a pestle. That sets the scene, doesn't it? It's told us what the business is. It's analysed the information we've been given. And then I think that kind of makes sense to say, well, after having thought about all of this, why don't we then go into some details on what our objectives are? Set the objectives, because you kind of have to do the AF3 and the AF4 first before you set objectives, don't you? Because they are influenced by your analysis of the market. You don't have to do it that way. You could do AF2 right at the start. It really doesn't matter. But I quite like that as an approach. What I would then do, because don't forget Activity 2 is a separate document, is I would then just copy and paste the aims and objectives into the start of Activity 2 before you get into your marketing mix. Partly because it's quite a nice way to get you going on Activity 2, but also because it will help remind you of the need to link your marketing mix to those objectives as part of the same document. So I think it's literally 15 seconds, isn't it? Copy and paste the aims and objectives. Perhaps not all the detail, maybe just a summary of the top lines, and then put those into at the top of Activity 2. Okay, so there we go. That's aims and objectives. Now, a number of people asked in the live chat about an introduction. What should you write for an introduction? I think the key here is not to write, excuse me, not to write much. Don't start repeating everything that's in the research pack. Don't start copying everything out of Part B about the business. You need to get on to writing things that are going to score you marks. So here's an example of what I've written in my worked answer for Slide and Seek, which I'll share with you tomorrow lunchtime or tomorrow. Literally, you can get 2 marks instantly in Unit 2. So to say what the business is, Slide and Seek operates a single soft play centre in Leeds. It generates £62,000 worth in sales from 8,500 visits per year. And then here's where the first 2 marks come from out of 70. The business aims to significantly increase sales revenue in the next 12 months. There's your aim. You've mentioned the aim. There's a mark. Here's another mark. The marketing budget is £25,000 for a 12-month campaign. That's another mark from budget, from the 8 marks going for the budget. You've now got 2 marks out of 70. And then just explain, or not even explain, state which option you are going to develop in your rationale and marketing plan. So we have chosen the option to launch a membership/loyalty scheme. Andrew's asking, where should we put the aims and objectives on Activity 2? I would literally have them at the start of Activity 2. Just say Activity 2, heading, reminder, aims and objectives, and just paste them into there. That's a great place to have them. Okay, so there we go. So key point summary then. We're 15 minutes in. We've got about 20 minutes left. For those of you looking at your watches. Aims and objectives. The most important thing is avoid the mistakes that students make when it comes to writing generic objectives. That could apply to any business. Increase sales by 10%. What does that mean? You need to be as specific and realistic as possible using the information in the business. Try to make sure that you write things that score you marks. So don't start defining what a SMART objective is. It's a waste of time. Much, much more important, explain how and why you've chosen that objective and how it links to the research, how it links to your justification, and maybe just a line or two that links to the marketing mix to say, here's what we're going to be doing in the marketing mix. And as we'll see, in the marketing mix, we also refer back to the objectives. So it's all nicely circular. Finn's asking, how do we justify each objective by linking to the marketing mix when we haven't started that yet? Well, you should have an idea before you start your marketing mix as to what you're planning to do. You should have some time thinking about what you're going to do. So that's where I would link to it. And don't forget, you can always go back to Activity 1 and update your aims and objectives, maybe as you've developed your marketing mix in Activity 2. Okay, there we go. So on to the marketing mix. So 20 marks going for AF5, and it is the 7 Ps, not just the 4 Ps. So 20 marks, a minimum of 2.5 marks per minute suggests a minimum of 50 minutes. It is by a distance the most important thing that you'll be working on. Much better to spend more and add more detail into your marketing mix than, say, writing 2 pages of pestle or whatever. You must make sure that you do justice to AF5. So if you end up spending an hour on the marketing mix, that is absolutely fine because there's so many marks being lost here. Peter's asking, what does AF mean? Assessment focus. So assessment focus, it's the mark scheme. Okay, so let's have a look at AF5. Main thing Picking up from the examiner's reports is that you must apply your marketing mix. You can't just write a generic section on pricing, a generic section on product, a generic section on physical environment. You must apply it to the business. They are expecting detail, a good level of detail for the 4 Ps. In fact, really, for a service business, I'd be expecting a decent level of detail across all the 7 Ps. And what do we mean by detail? What are you going to do? What is your plan? What do you want the business to do for product and price and promotion and place and the rest? And then why? So what is it about the research that suggests that would be an effective thing to do in that part of the marketing mix? Can you make a link back to your SWOT analysis? So is something in product building on the strength of the business or taking advantage of an opportunity? Or can you link it to the product life cycle perhaps and say, well, this is the kind of thing that you should be doing, let's say, if the business is in the maturity phase. And much, much more importantly, excuse me, than all of that is linking it to the objectives of the business. Everything you write in the marketing mix must be linked in some way to one or more of the objectives. That's the most important thing. So detail, link back to your research, your models, and most importantly, link to your objectives. And if you keep doing that, then you will consistently do better than most students taking Unit 2, who tend to write quite brief, generic, non-applied marketing mixes. And we'll have a look at this. I've got a couple of examples to show you. Now, let's just start with, don't forget, there's also in AF5, 20 marks, there's also marks going for the marketing message. Is this something you've come across? So the marketing message needs to be in there. And a good place to put the marketing message is right at the start of your marketing mix section, AF5. Now, the examiners have said where students do it, not all do, they often lose marks by just providing a slogan or a strapline. You need a bit more than that. You need 2 or 3 sentences to explain to the examiner what your overall marketing message is going to be. And what we mean by marketing messages, what is your sort of communication message that you're going to try to get across through your promotional campaigns and other aspects of the mix so that customers have a clear idea as to what the business is and what it's trying to achieve. So the marketing message is quite important, but don't spend forever on it. It just needs a little bit of detail. Has anyone had a thought about what the marketing message could be for this business? What do you think? Type it in the live chat if you've got any ideas. Have you got a marketing message we can use? And I'll stick it on screen. Gives me a chance just to take a sip of water. What do we think? A marketing message for Slide and Seek. And if you want to put just your slogan and your strapline in on its own, that's fine as well. I've come up with one which it's okay. Confused Oxygen has come up with something which is beautiful. Slide into a new world with Slide and Seek. Well, it certainly got me excited about visiting, although I'm outside the target age range. Dev's gone for fun and fantastic. Yeah. I'll take that. Maybe I need a little bit more, but it could be fun and fantastic from an educational point of view as well. Let's going to see if there's anything else in the live chat that can be displayed on a public forum. What's this one? Come and treat your children to the best of 2 worlds. I suppose education and fun, I think, are 2 worlds. Aidan's saying whatever it is, it needs to include something, the messaging, the communication, that it's family friendly. That is really important, isn't it? And just is saying these examples look more like slogans than objectives. Well, they are. I did ask for a marketing message, and what have you given me? You've given me slogans and straplines, which is absolutely fine. But all I would say is, and those are fine, but what you just need is a little bit more. Here's what I went with. What do you think to this? Don't be too critical. I went with where safe play meets learning and fun. And basically, what I'm trying to do with that message is to say that actually my target audience is parents, because we know from the primary research that parents above all value cleanliness, soft play areas that don't smell, that are kept clean, quite important, and also safety. as well as it being interesting and educational and hopefully fun as well, hopefully. But, our target audience are parents, aren't they? A 3-year-old isn't going to book a party. Well, maybe she would. But anyway, so the message is, the communication is all about trying to focus on what parents value. And so we might have some strap lines, crazy by teachers, loved by families, maybe. But all I'm doing is just the marketing message, just to say, here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to connect our research, our primary research, with a message communication that might work across our promotional activities. Dev's come up with some really useful feedback on my marketing message. The slogan's too long. It needs to be short and snappy. Come on, Jim. I'm going to try and come up with something a little bit shorter and snappier on the fly. It would be... no, leave that with me. I'll come back to that in about 10 minutes' time. Jacinda's gone with slide to an adventure and seek for fun. We're getting there, aren't we? Now, you might say, are there specific marks for having a good slogan and a logo? No, not at all. The examiner's not interested remotely as what you've chosen, except you need to explain what you've chosen and how it links. That's where you get them. That's where you get the marks for the marketing message. Well, whilst I think about a snappier, shorter logo, let's now just do a quick bit of revision. So over to you in the live chat. Let's go through the 7 Ps. In the live chat, please, I want some feedback on how each of these 7 Ps would apply to Slide and Seek. In other words, what are we talking about? Let's apply the marketing mix. We don't want to be generic, do we? We want to apply it to this service sector business. So starting with product, which is what the customer buys and receives. What is it? Over to you in the live chat. What is it? What would we be writing about within product for Slide and Seek that would make it specific to this business and not about, say, a hot dog seller or hairdresser or some other different case study business? Let's quickly do a bit of quick revision on the 7 Ps. And if this is the first time you've seen the 7 Ps, it's good time to do it. So what is it? And what are we going to be talking about in terms of products? Yeah, so definitely, yeah. So the product is about the safe environment, isn't it? The product is you're buying trustworthy, reliable, safe experience. You're buying a service. So you're buying an experience, as Zara says, the product is a fun experience for kids. So actually, you're buying a service, you're buying an experience. I was adding in the educational and fun aspect to it. And then there's the hardware, isn't it? The play equipment, the slides, the ball pits, all that kind of stuff. Exactly that. That's what you're doing. That's what you're getting for your money, isn't it? So now the next one is a bit harder, I think, a bit more complicated. What is it about price that makes this business quite complicated? So price is what the customer pays, but what kind of things would we be wanting to write about rather than just talking about a price that would make our marketing mix for price a lot more specific to the business? Jacinda, I'll show you an example of how we're going to write these in a paragraph in literally a second or two, or a minute or two. Yeah, and this is going to talk about affordability. So we need to consider competitors. We need to consider competitor pricing. We need to consider the incomes of our target consumer. What do we think? So competitor pricing definitely is of interest, but it's more than that, isn't it? Because if you think about this soft play center, is the price you pay always the same? If not, why not? What do we think? And the more detail you can go into and the more almost like complexity you can go into, the more likely it is your marketing mix is going to hit the right level of detail. Yeah, Shakina's here. The types of pricing. So in this case, that's superb stuff. We've got off-peak pricing, the price you pay when it's quiet, when fewer people want to go. For example, Tuesday mornings, 10 o'clock, versus peak pricing, which is probably Saturday afternoon, particularly if it's raining, when there's loads of parties there. So that issue between off-peak and peak. Yeah. Weekend sales. And then Andrew's pointed out discounting. So pricing gets complicated by discounting, special offers. And if we're going to go with the loyalty program, something around loyalty pricing. Jacinda's saying, yeah, pricing isn't always the same because there are different offers, there are different packages. And that's the key. That's the key, isn't it? Our marketing mix for price for this business would want to spend quite a few sentences explaining the different prices that we might want to try to charge and why. Yeah, and Safe's picked up the fact that there's a pricing decision around adults. So if you look at competitors, some charge for adults £3 each, as well as the kids. Some let the adults in for free. So there's a decision: do you pay or do you not pay? So that's why I think it's complicated. Good stuff. Let's move on. I'll show you one or two things that I've come up with. Place. What do you think about this? Place. Where and how the product is sold. What do we think about place? Distribution, really, isn't it? Is place. How do we get the product sold? What do we think? What is that? What are the kind of things we're going to be thinking about if we are the owners of Slide and Seek, Sana and Zach? Yeah, so definitely this looks and feels like an online, predominantly or dominated by online sales. Yeah, you might have a telephone, but basically you're gonna have an online booking, aren't you? Yep, online and website, definitely. Yep. So let's move on to the next one. What about promotion? What kind of things do you think we might include in promotion for a soft play center? This is your promotional mix. This is which you can do as part of AF5, or you can do it as part of AF6 if you want. You can explain your promotion strategy when you're putting your budget together. Yeah, this feels like a sort of multifaceted, doesn't it? Promotional mix. Flyers for schools could be a really cost-effective way of getting the word out there. QR codes to book, which is a nice link to process and to place. Lots of email marketing. No doubt at all about that. Once you've got someone on your system, email them. Yeah, social media. Billboards is an interesting one, isn't it? Particularly if you've got a single location there. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. Well done. And TikTok ads, particularly if you decide to choose for the mum influencer option, in which case it will all be TikTok, won't it? And let's just quickly do, just by way of quick revision, before I show you a couple of examples. What about the other 3 Ps? Now, most students are pretty good at the 4 Ps, product, place, price, and promotion, but they often struggle, if they do it at all, with the other 3 Ps. So we just need to go through this. What about the people? What kind of things are we going to have to think about there in terms of people? Yeah, Dev's going, yeah, customer service, staff training. Yeah. Yeah. Having staff that know about the product, know about the new loyalty scheme, trained in health and safety, trained in customer service. Yeah, kind and respectful. Don't forget, most of the staff in this business are paid national minimum wage and are relatively young. So, and probably quite a high turnover of staff. You can imagine students in particular would get quite a lot of job opportunities from this kind of business. Good stuff. Let's do the last 2. We're in good shape here. What about process? What kind of things could we talk about for the marketing mix for process, for a service business? Process is how the service is delivered, how it's managed. Quite a few things here, I think, with this one. What do we think? Number of people still on people, talking about the need for training, which is good to see. What about process? You can't avoid the 7 Ps. You have to put something down for each of them, and you've got to put something down which is specific to that business. What do we think? Process is sometimes quite hard to think, well, I've no idea what's going on here. What is process? Yeah, Finn's in there. Quick, intuitive website. So user experience online, really important. The ordering process, the checking process to see what slots are available and what price might be. Maybe the process for submitting queries for a party. Yeah, contactless payment. So putting in place payment processing. The ability to book an online, book and confirm your booking, receive tickets, all of that kind of stuff. Mia's saying, do you have to write out all the 7 Ps? Yes, you do. You should. All of that kind of stuff. And last but not least, the physical environment, which I actually think is quite important for this business. What kind of things would you want to be writing about? Not that it will, but let's say it was a soft play centre that came up in Unit 2. What kind of things matter from a marketing point of view? Shakina's still working on process. There's a really good one here, which is a fantastic one. I'll stick it on the screen there. When parents are first being served to leaving the soft play, it could well be there's elements of self-service, self-check-in, self-serve, beyond just vending machines. Good stuff. That's all about process. Yeah, safe and clean. That's interesting. Yeah, the colours. Absolutely right. The colour scheme, the vibe. The vibe is something tangible, isn't it? What kind of feel do you get for the place? The music, the decor, the cleanliness, all that kind of stuff. JA has it snapped perfect here. Is it a welcoming environment? Do you think, I've come to the right place here. I'm glad I booked my party here. This is amazing. Things are clean. Equipment's fantastic. I'm greeted when I get there. The signage is good. All that kind of stuff. Love these. These are great. Well done. So here's what I went with, but not meant to be an exhaustive list. So by all means, have a look through these or download the PowerPoint if you wish. Let's pick out one or two things. I think price is key in this business. You're going to have to work quite hard to come up with the right mix of prices, peak, off peak, coming up with the right party pricing. And then thinking carefully about what the loyalty scheme pricing might be that means it's worthwhile being a loyal member of the scheme. So I think that feels to me like that will be quite 2 or 3 paragraphs of price. Product, I think the key there is that we would want to link to the SWOT analysis, because I think there's some evidence that their facilities are pretty basic at the minute and they need a bit of investment. So link that to the SWOT analysis. Let's pick one more. Yeah, physical environments. Is it clean? Is it safe? Is it easily accessible? Is it well lit? Is it warm? Is it fun as well? I think the physical environment for a soft play centre is absolutely fundamental, isn't it? It's that vibe, the vibe. There we go. As Saba says, it's a modern facility in Leeds. Everything's modern in Leeds. So there should be plenty of colours, facilities and stuff for parents to use. There's no excuse in these days for having a rubbish physical environment. Not if you want to increase sales. Okay, so we're doing well. So how would we do it? Almost made it without reaching for the Benelin. How would we write about these in our marketing mix? Well, don't forget the key is detail. You need to be writing detail. You've got an hour to write your marketing mix, so use it. So write in detail about what you want to do, specific to the business. So if there's some changes that you think are necessary, maybe addressing a weakness in the business, link it to your SWOT, explain what it will be. If there's something new you want it to do to take advantage of an opportunity, explain what that needs to be. Detail is important. Make it about the business, but link it back to where you were convinced. It could be the research, it could be your model. Then link it back to your justification as well. So that's why we do the justification, to explain and justify the marketing mix. But then most importantly, and this is absolutely critical, for each part of the marketing mix, explain in a few words, a sentence or two, how and why what you're suggesting, recommending, is going to help achieve the aim and one or more of those objectives. Because if it doesn't, what's the point? It can't possibly be a marketing mix that's supporting the aim and the objectives. Really important that. Link back to where you've come up with your ideas, the research in particular the primary research, I think it's going to be very useful for that, but then link it back to your aims and objectives for every single part of the marketing mix. Here's an example. I'm going to put it on screen. I'll read through it just to show you a couple of things. It's meant to be an example. It's not meant to be a perfect answer. But this is the level where it's at, I think. So, for example, here's my attempt at the product section. And I've just highlighted a couple of things. One is in blue there, where I've tried to link to AF4, justification, in this case SWOT, or primary research. And also just in yellow, where I've tried to link it to my objectives. So in essence, I'm saying that the product focus is going to be in two areas. One is the SWOT analysis highlighted a weakness in its basic facilities and limited activities. So that's a weakness. What you do with weaknesses, you fix them, don't you? So the marketing mix will look to address that weakness by adding in new activities, new programs, and in particular the stuff that plays to our strengths. So it says the centre will significantly expand its activities to attract more visits, that's objective 2, and try and get people to spend more, objective 3. There'll be a new educational programme, perhaps some of which linked to Sana's SEN expertise, new weekly learning sessions, perhaps targeted at schools, a new sensory room, a new physical facility to provide quiet space for children who need it, and also maybe some extra special stuff for school holidays, so special workshops. So in other words, we're going to expand our range of offerings. And then in particular, the research showed, the primary research showed that parents were really interested in this as a venue for parties. So, and also parties are priced higher, aren't they? £13 and above compared with £7. So the party offering will be refreshed. 4 new themed parties replacing the 2 options. And I thought this was quite a smart idea. It's probably my only smart idea. New party rooms will be designed that use customizable digital displays and lighting that can be easily themed around popular choices like princesses and superheroes. In other words, build new party rooms, but don't make them a theme on their own. Build it with displays that can be, a flick of a switch. It turns it from being a slime party to a Build-A-Bear party or to a superhero party, and no one's any the wiser. And we'll create a new toddler zone to give younger children a space to play. And I said, that will hopefully increase visits during the quieter mornings, objective 2. Now, you might look at that and say, too much detail, but I'd rather go with too much detail because I know it scores marks. And also, what have I done? I've explained what needs fixing, and I've linked it to the research. I've linked it to the SWOT analysis, but most importantly, I've linked it to the objectives. And that's what we're trying to do. So that on its own wouldn't just increase the revenues. Obviously, everything else, the whole idea of the marketing mix is it needs to work together, doesn't it? The marketing mix. Let's have a look at price. And again, I've just done the same thing here. I've got one more example to show you. So price is a bit more complicated, isn't it? So I've tried to link it to my product lifecycle analysis in AF4. So I said with 2 local competitors and operating in a mature market, that was my conclusion in AF4. Pricing needs to be competitive. However, to achieve 1,500 visits per month, objective 2, we need to make sure that we use pricing to encourage people to try us. So it can't be too high. So we need to be competitive. The best way, though, to increase average spend is going to be those party prices. So by offering better parties, better themed experiences, you can probably start to increase the price, maybe even slightly more than the competition. Why? Because the research says that's what parents want. They're interested in using it for parties. That you could talk about the loyalty scheme. Again, the research is lots of people haven't yet been to a soft play centre, and competitors such as Play Valley offer a 25% discount for those who are members of the scheme. So link pricing to the scheme. And I think I've added in a bit more about trying to get people to spend more in the cafe. So all I'm trying to do with price is say it's a bit more complicated than just the price will be £5 per person and then move on. You've got to try and build a bit of detail into your marketing mix, depending on what the business is. There we go. That's price. And last one, I'll just do, excuse me, almost there. Just an example of how you can do one of the other 3 Ps. So I don't think you need as much information for the other 3 Ps as you do for product, price, promotion, place. However, make sure you do something. So in this case, because it's a service business and I think physical environment is so important, I've gone with the old, well, as you were suggesting in the live chat, keeping things clean, safe, all that kind of stuff, well lit. So I said the primary research, so linking back to the research, shows parents care most about cleanliness and safety. They did, didn't they? If you look at the primary research, those were the top 2 considerations. So that is the priority. What are you going to do? Bit of detail. Cleaning schedules will be displayed. Visitors will see staff regularly cleaning, literally following behind the kids. Hand sanitizing stations everywhere. We'll display our safety certificates everywhere. It'll be bright, well lit, making it easy to keep an eye on the children. The name badges will be clear. Or everything will exude safety, cleanliness, and fun, of course, as well. And also, I suggested that we upgrade the sound and lighting system to give us some more options for creative, fun effects during general sessions and for the theme parties. Because I think the sound and lighting system sounds like it's part of the physical environment. And all of that should hopefully help us achieve Objectives 1 and Objective 2. Now, what do you think? Is that too much for the physical environment? Well, if you've got time, write it. All I'm saying is don't leave it. Don't write nothing about the physical environment or about process and people. But as much as you can, try and make it as specific as possible to show an understanding of what the physical environment is all about. And I reckon that will be a tippity top bit for physical environment. And if I did each of those, would I get 16, 17, 18 out of 20? Yeah, I reckon so. If you're out of 20 for AFI, I reckon that would be at the right kind of level. So there we go. That's it. So let's go back to here. We've spent a bit of time there on aims and objectives, AF2, and the marketing mix. In tomorrow's session, we're going to finish things off with the assessment foci by having a look at the budget and the timescale. I know there's only 8 marks going for that, but it's worth having a look at that. There are some easy marks to be had. And then we'll do a Q&A. We'll do a Q&A on any other questions you've got about Unit 2 before you dive into it on Wednesday afternoon. Huge thanks if you've managed to keep going on the whole session. Huge thanks in particular to Benelin and also to Karen, who has done an amazing job answering loads of questions in the live chat. If there are any more questions you've got, as soon as I press finish, this video will be available for you to post your comments or questions in the link on YouTube. It's the same link. But for now, thanks for joining me. See you next time.